Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Highways and Hilltops. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Jodi. We're so excited for episode 4 because we have finally made it through all of the technical details of visiting the park and we are off to the fun stuff. We're going to try to give you a picture of what it would be like to visit the park if you've never been there or if you're planning on going soon. And remember, we stayed on the east side, so we'll be taking you in the east entrance. And then we're going to be going all the way down, going to the Sun Road to the west side where Apgar Village is at. I'm not sure if we'll make it all the way down the road and back to the east side of Glacier where we start, but we'll see how far we can get you in 30 to 40 minutes. If you've been listening to us for a while, you know that we opted to stay on the east side of Glacier National Park in the St. Mary East Glacier KOA. So that's where our day one journey begins. From there, it's a short 4-minute drive to the east entrance of going to the Sun Road. But first, there's a little gas station and a couple of other things along the way.
Yeah, those are really great. There's not much else like we talked about. There's not much else up there, right? So you got the convenience store. It looks like a lodge. It's kind of fun. Got a lot of souvenirs, different things like that, fuel and eats. There's also a restaurant right outside the gate entrance too. We did eat there. I can't remember what we had. But it was pretty good.
I think it's kind of fancy food. Yeah, but remember it had all those great big windows that looked out onto the creek behind it and you can see the mountains.
Yeah, that was my first glimpse at kind of a trout stream, I thought maybe.
Yeah.
So it kind of got me excited. Well, right away, we left the restaurant and we started right inside the entrance to the park. The nice thing about that, there just wasn't a lot of traffic there. I don't know if it's because of the east side or because of the type of year we went, but it was really nice. As soon as you go through the gate and you get all that taken care of, there's a visitor center right there.
Yeah, there is. And remember, on the east side, you don't have to have a timed entry vehicle reservation. So if you want to enter early or if you want to enter late or if you want to enter in the middle of the day, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have that. You do just have to have your park pass. I think Charlie mentioned in the last episode that we buy the America the Beautiful Pass, and it will get you into all of the national parks for an entire year. So that seems to be a good option for us. So once you show that at the guard shack and head down your way, you get to cross the St. Mary River. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, right away. I mean, we mentioned it was beautiful in the campground at St. Mary's, which it really was. But man, just right away, as soon as you enter that gate, you begin to see the water, the streams. Remember the big lake on our left?
Oh,
it was just gorgeous.
Just inside the east entrance gate, you're going to come up on the St. Mary Visitor Center. It'll be off to the right. This will be a good place to learn park history. You can also check the shuttle schedule there. In fact, the St. Mary Visitor Center parking lot is a good place to park and ride. So if you want to ride that park shuttle over to Logan Pass or even to Apgar Village or to other drop-off points throughout the park, you'll be able to catch it there at the St. Mary Visitor Center. A fun fact about Glacier National Park, did you know that it's also known as the crown of the continent? Yeah, so we're going to be adding some fun facts as we go through the pod today to help you learn a little bit of history and some fun things about the park that you'll really enjoy when you get to go visit.
So right when you leave the entrance, you make your first little curve, you see the lake. I remember right there is the first time I'd ever seen so many bikers. So I think we've mentioned this before, but watch out for your bikers. It's kind of a different deal. These people will ride from those entrances all the way through the park. And, it's really neat to watch them. But be sure the roads get narrow. They get pretty windy. And so be watching out for the bikers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I remember being really intrigued by the red buses. They're really cool. They're really old, reconditioned buses. I do remember, though, that you have to have some reservations for these. So these are not easy to get. So.
That's true. They have this red bus tour, and I'll put a link in the show notes for you. These are really cool. I think one of our pictures, and I can't remember right offhand which one it is, but when we get to that area, I'll give you a heads up. It'll be posted on our website, but I captured the red bus in a valley between two mountains that I happened to be grabbing a picture of, and it has kind of become an iconic picture for us. But those buses, they're 1930s model.
Yeah, there's actually 33 of those buses in the fleet. They have rollback tops, so they're open tops where you can see out. They seat about 16 people, And they're very, very popular, so you have to get reservations for those a little bit early.
Yeah, very popular. So if you're thinking that you want to do a red bus tour instead of driving going to the Sun Road, I know a lot of people opt to do that. It is narrow and it has a lot of switchbacks, so it can be pretty curvy. And with the cliff sometimes on one side, you feel a little smushed in there. But the red bus did look like a really cool option. And the people in the red buses seem to be having a good time. I think the tour guides are really, really good. And they point you to different areas of the park and give park history and some really fun stuff.
So if you're in the red bus as a guided tour, you always there's parking spaces at every one of the pull-offs for the red buses. So you don't have to worry about any parking in there. And so that's pretty nice to always have a parking spot. Plus, you don't have to fight the traffic.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's worth talking about a little bit of geography of the park. I found these facts to be pretty cool as I was doing a little bit of research. Going to the Sun Road is built on the spine of the Northern Rockies. I think this is cool because, fun fact, we have gone to Yellowstone and then we went to Glacier kind of back to back. So Yellowstone, Rocky Mountain, and Glacier all have roads that go over the mountain. And then we went to Olympic. And I guess I just assumed that Olympic would have a road right through the middle as well. And I kind of learned the hard way that that's not the case for all national parks. So it's pretty cool that the National Park Service did take a lot of time, 2 decades actually, to build this road across the spine to give people a glimpse of what the middle of the park looks like. Because man, those views, oh my goodness.
I can't imagine what it would be like. It was a 51-mile road, right? And it wasn't until World War II or about 1952 that it actually became paved. So imagine trekking that road in gravel. And yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I would imagine that would be pretty scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing about the roads, we done some research before we left, and we wanted to know kind of what we could get up there and what we couldn't get up there. So we talk a lot about what we choose as far as the van or trailer or whatever. And we actually came across one couple online that said they'd knocked the mirrors off their truck. So
Yeah.
I think that about 20 foot, I think they say 21 foot is about as long as it needs to be. And you sure don't need to be any more than about 8 feet wide.
Yeah, in fact, the vehicle restrictions have their own portion of a page, and I will put a link in the show notes for you. You want to be sure and check those out. There's also a 10-foot height clearance because there are tunnels. So I know when we took our van, we knew we hit the 21-foot length. I don't know if we really thought much about the height. Luckily, our van is only 9 foot, so we made it through all the tunnels just fine. But if you were in a taller rig than that, you would really want to be careful.
Yeah, no big Winnebagos, Class A's, no Super C's, none of that. But I will say this, if you're the appropriate size, it's not too bad. You just have to slow way down and pay attention. It's so beautiful anyway. You're going to be going very, very slow. But the slopes will come out to you. The rocks are very sheer and right on the edge of the road. And everybody just slows way down and is patient with one another. So
Yeah, so a word to the wise, put your extended mirrors in. That way you don't get to looking around and forget. And then when you're the one that's on the cliff side where you're really, really close, you don't want to knock your mirror off on a rock.
The description was it's an engineering feat, and I believe that's correct.
Yeah, for sure. So the Going to the Sun Road crosses the Continental Divide at Logan Pass. Here's a fun fact about the Continental Divide. In case you don't know, the Continental Divide, also known as the Great Divide, is a mountain range, in our case the Rockies, that divides the natural flow of rainwater and snowmelt. So in North America, the Continental Divide runs along the Rocky Mountain Range from British Columbia, Canada, all the way to Mexico. So it's really cool that when you're standing at Logan Pass, you're actually at a spot where snowmelt is running to 2 different oceans. How cool is that? So keep that in mind if you go to Logan Pass, because there's a few places like in Yellowstone we crossed the Continental Divide, at Rocky Mountain National Park we crossed the Continental Divide, and then at Glacier National Park we were at the Continental Divide. So that's pretty cool just to know that little fact that you're actually standing in a spot where water runs 2 different ways.
I don't think I understood that until we went up there and actually seen this to understand what that's really like. So our first stop was at Logan Pass, which is right on the Continental Divide. right? And we pulled off to the visitor center. And this is, I think I mentioned earlier about we love our van because we can cook and make burritos and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we parked in the parking lot and we got the family around and we made some breakfast burritos for morning. And then we started right out to the visitor center at Logan Pass. And right behind that is where the Continental Divide is at. And there's a long snowbank or glacier way out to the top of that. And it's funny, it's like it's a rooftop. And so you can see how that water runs both ways off the top of the continent. Really neat.
Yeah, Logan Pass was really awesome. And there were so many beautiful views on the way there. We saw things like Flat Top Mountain, Goat Mountain, and like Charlie was mentioning, St. Mary Lake. Those glacial lakes are just amazing. Another cool thing about driving up, remember down at the KOA, there wasn't any snow. And as we started up to Logan Pass, you start seeing a little bit of snow and then a little more snow and a little more snow. And by the time we got to the parking lot, there were 8-foot drifts.
You know, you see people snowplow snow sometimes and you see it piling up, but you can tell this is just cut out, right? So when it's 8 feet, when we walked out behind that visitor center and we walked, I don't know, out there several hundred yards to the Continental Divide, it was 8 feet from top to bottom all the way out there. Really neat to see.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it was very snow-packed still. We were there on June, I think it was maybe the 25th, 26th, something like that. So we were last week of June. And I know that's kind of early season for Glacier. As they say, mid-July through mid-September, I think, is the big travel season. So we were a little bit early as far as visiting season goes. And there was still quite a bit of snow on the ground. In fact, the trail to the Hidden Lake Overlook, which is just behind the Logan Pass Visitor Center, was closed quite a ways out there. We walked a little ways. Our ankles were already getting wet because the snow underneath is already starting to melt a little bit. But a lot of people were walking on that snowpack out there. It was just a little bit slick, and we didn't have any trekking poles. And I'm not a young, spry person anymore, so I was kind of worried.
Yeah, you got to make yourself push through it and see the Continental Divide, though. That's important. And you may ask, why did we go from the gate all the way to the Logan Pass, the top of the Continental Divide on the Going the Sun Road? It just seemed like a logical place for us to start. But behind where we had drove was several of those parking areas where you could go on lots of hikes and see things.
Yeah, lots of overlooks that we haven't even really talked about. I've got plenty of pictures for you that I'll post out on our website, www.highwaysandhilltops.com. I'll also put some of them on our social media, so if you're following us on Facebook at Highways and Hilltops or on Instagram at Jodi Charlie Keith, you'll be able to check a few of the pictures out there. But if you really want to go see the full gallery of what we've got for you and kind of follow our picture tour down Going to the Sun Road, be sure and go check out our website for that. The reason why we went to Logan Pass first is because when I was doing the research and planning, everything says that the parking lot fills up by sunrise. So I knew we were a little bit on the early end of the season, and I was hoping if we got up and around about, 7 and got through the gate, that we could find a place to park at Logan Pass, and then we would just do breakfast when we got there. So that worked out well because Charlie cooked us breakfast and we ate breakfast burritos there in the parking lot. While he was cooking, Weston and I took the dog for a walk. Just of note, if you travel with your pet, dogs are not allowed on most trails in national parks. But they are allowed in the parking area. So if you want to see pictures of Scout, he travels with us. He actually has his own traveling hashtag, so he is hashtag Traveling Scout. If you want to go out on Facebook and search for that, you can see all the pictures with little Scout in them as he has traversed his 26 states in 3 short years of his life. Hey, just one more heads up on traveling with your pets. I told you that dogs are allowed in the parking lots. They are. They're also allowed along roadside stops. So if you stop at an overlook, you can get your pet out there and they can use the bathroom or whatever. They're also allowed in campgrounds, picnic areas, and on boats. Now, you're going to want to check out the Glacier pet rules at the link in the show notes. I've put it there. I also put a separate link for service animal information. This is very important, and the reason why is because not all service animals qualify to be on the trails at Glacier National Park. For instance, if you have a emotional support pet, those do not qualify. Only animals that perform a task that is needed for a person are the ones that qualify. So be sure that you go read about that. They do talk about the risk involved because there are wild animals present. So there is some risk involved in taking your pet out on the trail. I think there's also a workshop that you have to attend with rangers if you're going to take a service dog. So just be sure that you check that out. I'll drop that link in the show notes for you so that you can check it out yourself.
For day one, this is a good place to start too, right? So you have two choices. You can drive the Going the Sun road, pull off at all the little parkings and look and do zero hiking if you want to, right? So if you have some kind of problems and you don't want to hike or you don't have to. So that was what was really nice about it. So day one, we wanted to go just see everything. We wanted to drive the Going the Sun road and then come back and plan our hikes. It's at 6,646 feet of elevation, so it's nice and high. It's right there at the Continental Divide, and so it was just a nice place to kick it off.
Yeah, it was. Another thing, you can hike the Highline Trail out of the Logan Pass Visitor Center, but in the early season like this, if you're a really avid hiker and the Highline Trail is absolutely on your to-do list, just know that it was closed because of the snow. So be sure and check that. If hiking the Highline Trail is really high on your to-do list, you want to go check those trail conditions before you take off to Glacier so you don't get there and get your heart broken. There was just too much snow on it still around the end of June, and it was too dangerous to let people out on that trail. So Highline Trail was closed when we first got there. Another thing, if you want to follow along with us, the National Park Service has an interactive map, and I put a link in the show notes for you so you can kind of see these places that we're talking about, and you can go look at our pictures and see where they land on that map as you go down Going to the Sun Road. The interactive map makes it really fun because they also have pictures and highlighted points for the different overlooks and visitor centers and things like that along the road.
Inside the visitor center was really nice too. Had lots of history, had lots of things to read, had lots of glass where you could see out across some mountains. It was really something to see.
Yeah, that Logan Pass Visitor Center is really something. You can look out and see Reynolds Mountain, and then out the back, you can see Clements Mountain. Both still had tons of snowpack. We talked to the girl that was working inside the visitor center. She was really sweet. And we asked her if we walk out there on that snow where everybody's going. And by the way, they were far enough out there that they look like little ants. So they were getting pretty far out. Are we going to be able to see anything? And she said, no, not really. Because the lake, the hidden lake for the Hidden Lake Trail, was actually also covered in snow and ice. And you couldn't tell where it was because of all the other snow and ice.
There's probably just a few weeks a year that thing's even visible, right? So you're kind of walking on what feels like a glacier out through there. So
yeah, it was really crazy. They do offer some guided day hikes out of Logan Pass. I really don't know a lot of specifics about that, but I'll try to remember to stick a link down in the show notes so that you can get over to the guided day hike information page for Glacier National Park and see if you're interested in any of those. Do remember, in late June when we were there, the Highline Trail and the Hidden Lake Overlook Trail were both still closed at that 6,000 foot elevation due to snow. So you might just keep that in mind based on what time of year you're going. I would assume those guided day hikes are probably going to be more of a July through September type of thing. But if it's a light snow year, you might be able to get them in the early season. So we left Logan Pass and we continued down Going to the Sun Road. Remember, we're going from east to west. So we took off west and we only went about 300 feet to our next stop, which was the Oberlin Bend Lookout.
yeah, so the Oberlin Bend had a great view of Oberlin Mountain. Really, really pretty. Right there, they had a big overlook deck.
Mm-hmm.
It happened to be closed because we were a little bit early due to snow. It was closed. This area had two beautiful waterfalls, all from the snow melt. Really, really pretty. This area is also known for its mountain goat activity. We didn't get to see any because it didn't happen to be there when we were there. But it is known for that, so you can watch for them. The parking lot's a little bit small, holds about 10 cars, but there's lots of people there, of course, playing in the snow. On down the road, we stopped to get a pic of Lake McDonald Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really pretty. The valley is it's farther than you can see. It's just really, really pretty. The snow drifts are taller than the van was, which is like 9'7" or something like that. So they were really, really, really tall. And all of these pictures are on our photo gallery on the website.
Yeah, they are. And guys, when we talk about a valley, I mean like a valley. Not a valley that you would see in Oklahoma. You're talking about a valley between two giant mountains. And it is really, really crazy. I think I actually took a video there of you and Weston kind of standing out, and I swept it around, and you can kind of see from mountain to valley to mountain. And then I turned around to the road so you could see the snowdrift in the van as well. So y'all be sure and go check out our photo gallery. Again, that's on our website, www.highwaysandhilltops.com, so that you can see that giant snowdrift. It was crazy.
This place made me laugh a little bit because of people going up to those super high waterfalls. I mean, they're really churning. And the rocks are slick, and people are walking out on the edge of those rocks with their kids and stuff. And it was a little bit spooky, but anyway, beautiful area. I remember standing on the side of that valley, and we carried binoculars with us, and I was really just kind of wanting to see some of those mountain goats or anything down there, but I quickly found out that you need something much more than the binoculars. You need a spotting scope in these places. So.
Yeah, spotting scope is on our Christmas list. So if anyone wants to buy us a gift, we'll take a spotting scope, please. From Oberlin Bend, we headed down to the Big Bend area. There's roadside parking here, and actually this parking lot is pretty big, and it has views of a really majestic valley. There's also an unnamed snowmelt waterfall. And from what I've read, this waterfall is basically non-existent in the late season. So I thought that was kind of cool. One of the reasons that we got to see this waterfall is because we were there in the early snowmelt season. So to think about it being dry is kind of weird. Lying just beyond Big Bend, you're going to encounter the Weeping Wall. Oh, the Weeping Wall. So let us tell you about the Weeping Wall. For one thing, it's a little tight through there. This is just water for, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile, just falling over the edge of the cliff that's right beside the road. And if you're heading west, your car's going to get wet.
It's pretty neat how they built that road right in there by these waterfalls and stuff. And some of them actually have crevices from the road to the side of the mountain, and they just fall right below the road. And then some of them actually kind of cross. You can reach your hand out the window and touch the waterfalls. That's kind of amazing. Or actually, what we call it, weeping wall. Mm-hmm. It's really a long wall, but you can stick your hand out if you wanted to and get your hand wet all the way down the road. So. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I also think that I read that the Weeping Wall also dries up in the late season or in years when it's dry and they just don't get quite as much snow melt. But man, it was rushing when we went under it. The van got a bath.
And keep in mind, we've came in the east entrance. We went all the way up to Logan Pass, and now we're heading down over the Continental Divide. So this is the point right in there where it's that midpoint where it's falling both ways. So your water before Logan Pass was kind of going one way as you were hiking, and then as you come over now it's going a different way. So it's east to west water, and just kind of a neat thing. You also, it's kind of like a peak, and then you're kind of falling off, and so it's just something to see.
I have a very poor quality video of the Weeping Wall. So I will post it for you because everyone should experience what it looks like to go under the Weeping Wall. And there was a minivan passing us. I think I took the video actually on our way back, so we weren't under the water. But there's another minivan that is under the water in my video. So you'll have to go check that out. It'll be on the website for you. So you'll know all about what the Weeping Wall looks like.
And again, I've said this before, but you can come in the east entrance, drive the Going the Sun Road, and almost never even get out if you had to. If you were handicapped or whatever, you just can't do. Just this road alone is worth the park, much less the hiking and things we're going to talk about later. But
yeah,
between the bus tours, the guides, Do it yourself is just as nice. There's just so much to see, and you don't ever have to even get out of your car.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. It's indescribable. I kind of felt that way about the Grand Canyon too, but this is just a different level of beautiful. I mean, the Bible says that all creation testifies to the Creator, and I don't know how you can stand in Glacier National Park and deny what God has done.
To me, it's there's so much destruction when you think about the rocks and stuff coming up, and then some and beauty with it all at the same time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like all things are new. You know what I mean? Like the Bible says. But yeah, it's just beautiful. That there was one fact that I was looking up when we first decided to go to this park, and I was like, I wonder how big it is compared to Yellowstone, because Yellowstone's really big, and I thought,
Hmm.
well, I hope this is not really a tiny little park. So the fact is, it's about half the size of Yellowstone, which is still very, very big. I believe Yellowstone, and don't hold me to this exactly, but it was like 2 million acres, and this is like 1 million acres. So this is not some little tiny national park. This is a big area. So
Yeah, it's just crazy. So, our next stop was Heaven's Peak. Oh, I think this might be my most favorite peak in the park, to be honest. I got the most beautiful pictures with my 400 millimeter lens here, and it's at the Loop Trailhead. So, if you go to the Loop Trailhead, and that's what it's going to be called on the map, you kind of have to be careful because the parking lot's right on the road. There's an upper level parking kind of in front of that lower parking. But the thing is, you turn into the parking lot right where the road switches back. So you're in the middle of a switchback. And then to get over to the trailhead, you actually have to cross the road in that switchback. It's a little bit daunting because the cars are coming down that curve. So just be careful and mindful whenever you cross the road there. But let me tell you what, this trail is worth it. And we didn't even walk that far down it.
yeah, it's fairly short. This is our actual first hike. I mean, we went behind Logan Pass out on the snow a little ways, but this is our first narrow trail hike in the woods. The trail was, again, pretty narrow, and I remember it being very steep on one side as we walked through there. But it wasn't too far. We didn't exert ourselves too much. There was a little wooden footbridge. It was really cool,
Oh,
that
yeah.
crossed over a big stream, and the stream was just rushing down through there. And a fun fact here is this is the trail that leads to the Granite Park Chalet.
Yeah, so if you went and listened to Night of the Grizzlies, like we told you to in our last episode, sorry, that was our dog shaking his head. If you went and listened to Night of the Grizzlies, they talk about the Granite Park Chalet, and the Loop Trail is the trail that will get you there. We didn't know that when we were on it because we didn't listen until after we left Glacier National Park. But it was kind of fun to realize that we were actually on a trail that leads up to the Granite Park Chalet had we kept going. Now, here's a little interesting tidbit about that. We would have had to been probably in a little better shape because I'm pretty sure there's about a 2,000-foot elevation gain from where we were at to get to the chalet. And I'm not sure any of us were really up for that.
Yeah, we laughed about how, oh, this is a great trail. It's pretty flat. We get to see all this beautiful water, and it's not very bad. And we met some people coming up the trail, and they had full packs with tents and everything on it. So they were heading for the chalet camp area. And so I guess it's a pretty fun thing, kind of a famous thing to do, to go up there and camp where the Grizzlies were at. So
Yeah, for sure. And they were booking it. So they were obviously in a lot better shape than I am. Like Charlie mentioned, this trail is narrow, but it's beautiful. I actually have a picture out on the website of Charlie and Weston on the trail, so you can kind of look at that and see the drop off. That creek, though, man, cobblestone, all different colors, and giant boulders, and that waterfall coming down through there, and getting to stand on that bridge and feel the rumble. That was so cool.
I love to stand on those bridges over that water. Um, and again, like you said, it's vibrating the bridge under you, and this was the first one that we actually walked to the trees. So the narrow trail along a bluff line, it was just beautiful trees, and so that when you get me in the trees and you get me over the water, I get pretty excited. So this was one of my favorite memories of the park.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm pretty sure I pulled the bear spray out of the holster on this walk because there were lots of blind corners when you're just walking around that ridge on the side of the mountain and it's kind of winding around. Also, the trees and bushes and vegetation are kind of tall, so you feel like you're kind of down in maybe a maze. I think about a corn maze where it's on both sides of you.
Well, it
Um,
does because if you remember right, it goes straight one way and then just a hard 90-degree turn back the opposite way and then a hard 90-degree turn back the opposite way. And so when the first two bends are all in trees, water, and all that, and then remember it goes up to the mountaintop. And
yeah.
so when you get on the high elevation outside the trees, the temperatures change. And
Mm-hmm.
we talked about this a little bit previous, but you start off needing a jacket in the woods, and then when you get on the mountaintop where there's no trees up there, a little closer to that area, then you start getting out in the sun. So here we go again. The layers and the hats and all that kind of stuff. And this is one you should keep water with you because I think if we'd went all the way to the top, it would have been a different story. So.
Yeah, it was already getting hot on us. It was in the afternoon. By the way, remember we were in snow at Logan Pass, but we had gone down enough elevation to get to the loop trail that there was no more snow here. So this is dry conditions and the sun in the afternoon. We were there a little bit after noon, I believe, and the sun was kind of beating right down on that side of the mountain where you're walking. And it was pretty toasty, to be honest. And the National Park Service, their guideline to walk in the loop trail does say that it can be pretty hot in the afternoon on sunny days because there's no shade. So you should plan to wear a hat and take water for this. Like we said, we just did a short hike. When the elevation started going up, 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 we decided to turn around and go down, down, down.
This is a good one to take, kids and others with you, right? Because if you wanted to, you can park in the parking lot, walk through the trees, walk down to the footbridge, the wooden bridge, see everything that's beautiful about that, and walk back and almost, not exert yourself at all because it's just pretty flat. So it's kind of what I like about this whole park. If you want to make things less strenuous, you can. There's always a way to do that, it seems.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that this is a great one because you can turn around at any point and just go back. So we could have gone on a little farther if we would have wanted to. To be honest, we were all getting ready for lunch. So we walked a short ways around there. And I'm telling you, that short hike is worth it just for that beautiful view of Heaven's Peak.
In the picture on the website, you'll see a picture where we're standing on the footbridge. And if you look to the right of the picture, you'll see all the timber and the beautiful trees. Look to your left and you'll see just the grassy mountains. That's the different types of terrain that you're going to see. So that's kind of it's kind of neat because it's got the two different types of terrain in it. One kind of looks like the Continental Divide up high. One kind of looks like the woods down low. So
Yeah, another thing I liked about this trail is it felt a little more rugged than, some of the trails that are really heavily traveled. This trail is a little more narrow and it feels a little more like you're a hiker, like a real
yeah,
hiker.
I love a flat, rugged trail, right? Where you're pretending a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. All right. And like I said, be sure and go check out that breathtaking view of Heaven's Peak. You can definitely see this, I think we can tag as Jodi's favorite place in the park because it is absolutely stunning. In late June, it is still snow covered, but it's really cool where you can see the line where the vegetation starts and it's all green and then snow above that. And it's really beautiful.
Each of our trips, it seems like there's just one photograph that stands out at every park, right? And this is it. This photograph on the website is beautiful. I mean, this is one of those that brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of other things that we got to see down the loop trail was the wildflowers that grow in Glacier National Park. It's kind of funny that at that elevation you wouldn't think you would get very many flowers, but the wildflowers are really beautiful. And also bear grass. And I didn't get a picture of bear grass while we were at the loop trail, but I do remember it was there. I just didn't know what it was at the time. I did get a picture of it at McDonald Falls. So when you go to our pictures on the website, you're going to look for a piece of foliage. It has a green stem and then a white flowery head on it. And that is called bear grass. It is stinky, kind of like dead fish, but apparently the bears love it.
It does smell like dead fish, but it looks like popcorn.
It does look like popcorn. I love that. Yeah, a popcorn ball. It's a green stem with a popcorn ball on top. That's probably why they like it. So after a short hike down the loop trail, we decided to go to Apgar Village for lunch. Now, I know we're skipping a lot of stuff, but we are going to come back and take you back down our journey from the west back to the east. But first, we went to Apgar Village for lunch. We ate at a cute little restaurant called Eddie's Grocery and Cafe there in Apgar Village. I was kind of surprised that there was like kayak rentals and bear spray rentals and I think ATV rentals, electric bikes.
This is where you begin to meet the line for the west entrance where the time entry's at.
Oh, yes.
This is where we discovered about the Cherokee tag and how they led us through there. So you're driving from the east to west, and when you get down there to this right-hand turn road that goes into the Apgar Village, just across where you turn at the intersection is the west entrance guard standing there. So we went into that road and went down to Apgar Village and ate. And just a little side note, when we pulled back out, that put us in the west entrance time part.
Yeah,
They stopped us, and we were like, it was about 2:30, and I think it was 3 or 3:30 that you could get in.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh man, I didn't realize I was in the west now because we came a long ways, but I didn't realize that was the line. So the line is divided to the road going into that village. Well, luckily he walked down the line of cars, seen our Cherokee tag, and waved us right through. So. But anyway, just know that when you get to this point, you're going to go to lunch. That line is right there, and if it's not 3 o'clock, then you'll have to sit and wait. They're actually going to turn us around. So,
yeah, we didn't know when we pulled into Apgar Village that when you start to come out of Apgar Village, it's a right turn only. That means
you're west.
You can't come back in the park unless you go through the line. And we were like, oh no. This is not cool. But we only had about 30 minutes. Now, if we had been there at noon, we would have been panicking because at no time when we went down into Apgar Village did it dawn on either one of us, oh, when we come out of here, we're going to have to turn right and then we're going to exit the park.
But the good news is we made it down to lunch.
Yes.
And so you mentioned Apgar Village, a little town. Yep. I call it a little town. So that the lake is right there. Beautiful, clear lake. You mentioned the kayaks, the paddle boards, all that kind of stuff. Big gift shop down in there, and a place that we ate and it had some lunch. And so we had some special treats down in there that we had to try. So,
yeah, if you're going to be in Wyoming or Montana, huckleberries are a thing, y'all. And I would say they're a preferred taste. And here's what we learned. Back when we went to Yellowstone, Weston really loved huckleberry pancakes. It was the first time he had ever had them, and he just raved about these huckleberry pancakes. So when we got to Apgar Village, they had huckleberry lemonade, and he decided he wanted to try it. He loves really tart and sour things, but even this huckleberry lemonade was too tart for him.
We tried the drinks. We tried the pastries. We tried the ice cream. I think the ice cream's my favorite.
Did you like that huckleberry pie?
It was good. It was a little tart. It's fun to try, and I'm glad I tried it, but I'll stick with the ice cream.
Of course, you just have to try it if you're there, because you're never going to know if you don't try it. I think I might pass on the huckleberry stuff, but they can continue loving it. Across the road, after we got finished eating, is the old Apgar Schoolhouse. And fun fact about that, it's a tiny little one-room school that served Apgar Village as the one-room schoolhouse from 1915 to 1958. And they've refurbished the building, and they've done a really great job of keeping it restored.
Yeah, it's really great. I was talking to the folks who ran it and was asking them, what do you do in the winter, right? So we're there in June, July. Everything's beautiful, but you can just imagine at some point in the winter, this place is going to get rough up here. But they actually lived there year round. At least these people did. And they had their gift shop, and gift shop had a lot of nice stuff in it. But they they make all their money through the summer months, so it's kind of neat that these people were local owners and had this nice little gift shop.
Yeah, that's where you bought your walking stick.
It is.
Yep. And I got a really nice pullover, a 3/4 zip that's fleece, I think, that says Glacier National Park on it. It's a great gift shop. There's tons of t-shirts and long sleeve tees and sweatshirts and hiking socks. And I think they even have campfire wood. Wait, campfire wood? That's wrong. Wait, no, that's right.
Well, you pick up the little
Campfire
things in
wood.
those places, right, that mean something to you, like the hiking socks and stuff like that. Just kind of fun, and also a lot of times you're finding the specialty things in there too. So
Yeah, so it's really cool. If you make it down to Apgar Village, definitely go check out the little gift shop there. That's the one-room schoolhouse, and I've got a picture of it in the show notes and out on the website for you, so that you'll be able to see that. And it's so cute and fun.
this little community is where some of the lodging is at as well.
It
So
is.
I think there's a lot of folks that get lodging down in Apgar, and they spend a lot of time on that lake too.
Yeah, Lake McDonald is really, really big, and I can't. You know what? We need to go look up some of the facts about Lake McDonald for you. But it's really, really deep. It is a glacial lake, and there's a lot of kayaking on Lake McDonald, a lot of water sports. And we didn't get to spend much time there, but you can bet we're going to be going back to Glacier National Park, and I think we'll want to spend some time on Lake McDonald.
We walked out on the dock there. There's a really long dock that goes way out into the lake, and I was just trying to figure out how far down I could see in that water, and I don't know how far you can see, but it's a lot. I mean, it's tens of hundreds. I don't know how far, but it's several feet that you can see down in that water. So super clear and blue.
Oh, it's just beautiful. All right. All right. Well, I think that's as far as we're going to get on today's episode of Highways and Hilltops. So be sure and come back next week when we will be taking you back down Going to the Sun Road from the west all the way back to the east side, hitting the overlooks and the special places that we stopped along the way, and sharing some more fun adventures with you.
See you next time.
Bye.